Is the primary justification granting reservation for scheduled caste valid? Dear Nair caste Hindus and other caste Hindu community members, in modern India, reservation for scheduled caste in education and government jobs is justified based on the fundamental premise that it is an affirmative action to correct historical injustices. This assertion about historical injustices explicitly implies that the scheduled caste in India is an oppressed lot for many centuries. And who were their oppressors? Obviously, upper caste Hindus and Brahmins are made the scapegoats while answering the above question. But historical records now available in the open domain proves that the above fundamental premise along with all its corollaries are deeply flawed and incorrect. How did the upper caste Hindus and Brahmins oppress the scheduled caste? By what means? Summing up, the answer will be the upper caste Hindus by means of the hierarchical caste system had been oppressing the scheduled caste for more than 1000 years. And as atonement for this injustice, reservation has to be provided for scheduled caste. This begs the following questions. 1. If commonly agreed upon inter and intra-caste rules helped in policing the society and restraining various caste groups from breaking public order, can these caste rules be called oppressive? 2. Did obeying rules, regulations and restraint imposed by the caste system which inculcated discipline and self-control in individuals amount to oppression? The accounts left behind by French Catholic Christian Jesuit missionary Abbé Dubois amongst others about South Indian society in late 1700s and early 1800s is a real eye-opener. These accounts question the illogical and perverse political discourses about caste and oppression in modern India. It demolishes the anti-caste narratives and lies manufactured and spread by vested interests. Consider the following narrative account from the Abbé's book, Description of the Character, Manners and Customs of the People of India and of their Institutions, Religious and Civil. The contents here are from Chapter 2, Advantages Resulting from the Division of Caste. Paragraphs 1, 2 and 3 from the first translation were touched upon in Part 1, titled, Is Caste a Social Evil? Here in Part 2, paragraphs 5, 6 and 7 of Henry K. Beecham's translation, done in 1897, is provided. We can picture what would become of the Hindus if they were not kept within the bounds of duty by the rules and penalties of caste, by looking at the position of the pariahs or outcasts of India, who, checked by no moral restraint, abandoned themselves to their natural propensities. Anybody who has studied the conduct and character of the people of this class, which by the way is the largest of any in India, will agree with me that a state consisting entirely of such inhabitants could not long endure, and could not fail to lapse before long into a condition of barbarism. For my own part, being perfectly familiar with this class and acquainted with its natural predilections and sentiments, I am persuaded that a nation of pariahs left to themselves would speedily become worse than the hordes of cannibals who wandered the vast waste of Africa and would soon take to devouring each other. I am no less convinced that if the Hindus were not kept within the limits of duty and obedience by the system of caste and by the penal regulations attached to each phase of it, they would soon become just what the pariahs are, and probably something still worse. The whole country would necessarily fall into a state of hopeless anarchy, and before the present generation disappeared, this nation, so polished under present conditions, would have to be reckoned amongst the most uncivilized of the world. The legislators of India, whoever they may have been, were far too wise and too well acquainted with the natural character of the people for whom they prescribed laws to leave it to the discretion or fancy of each individual to cultivate what knowledge he pleased, or to exercise as seemed best to him any of the various professions, arts or industries which are necessary for the preservation and well-being of a state. They set out from that cardinal principle common to all ancient legislators that no person should be useless to the commonwealth. At the same time, they recognized that they were dealing with a people who were indolent and careless by nature, and whose propensity to be apathetic was so aggravated by the climate in which they lived that unless every individual had a profession or employment rigidly imposed upon him, the social fabric could not hold together and must quickly fall into the most deplorable state of anarchy. These ancient lawgivers, therefore, being well aware of the danger caused by religious and political innovations, and being anxious to establish durable and inviolable rules for the different castes comprising the Hindu nation, saw no surer way of attaining their object than by combining in an unmistakable manner those two great foundations of orderly government, religion and politics. Accordingly, there is not one of their ancient usages, not one of their observances, which has not some religious principle or object attached to it. Everything indeed is governed by superstition and has religion for its motive. The style of greeting, the mode of dressing, the cut of clothes, the shape of ornaments and their manner of adjustment, the various details of the toilet, the architecture of houses, the corners where the hearth is placed and where the cooking pots must stand, the manner of going to bed and of sleeping, the forms of civility and politeness that must be observed, all these are severely regulated. None of the politicians in modern day India will dare to express publicly the above described uncomfortable details about the general nature of the scheduled caste and question the rationale of providing reservation and other privileges to them. The pariahs in the above narration can be considered as representing the scheduled caste. The above first-hand account of the missionary reveals that it was essential to restrain sections of the scheduled caste by caste rules. If the pariahs, that is scheduled caste, were not bound by the rules of caste, India would have sunk into barbarism. She could never have become the superior and enduring civilization if the scheduled caste had their way. Moreover, the peaceful life of other sections of the population would have been impossible if the pariahs were not kept in check. Thus we can see that oppression, which is the basis of historical injustice theory used in support of reservation, falls flat on its face. If caste rules were not in place, the scheduled castes themselves would have oppressed the peace-loving citizenry belonging to other castes. Modern Indian democratic politics subservient to vote banks had succeeded in preventing these uncomfortable facts about scheduled castes being included in the official history and sociology taught in modern educational institutions. Thus, modern Indian state had foreclosed meaningful debates on these crucial aspects of Indian sociology, while at the same time shifting the blame to the forward castes and Brahmins. The manufactured and outright lies about historic oppression of scheduled castes has got adverse consequences in store for India. 1. It will act as slow poison on the minds of members of scheduled castes and bound to develop into hatred towards forward or upper castes, affecting succeeding generations on both sides. These outright lies about pre-modern caste oppression is intended to undermine the country from within. 2. It is intended to induce guilt feelings in the upper caste. 3. It is effective in justifying reservation benefits for the scheduled caste. 4. It can be used to perpetuate reservation for many more years to come. 5. Availing reservation benefits under cover of this fictitious narrative will dampen the bootstrapping of the scheduled caste themselves. This will qualitatively affect their lives. Finally, natural justice deems that Brahmins and caste Hindus must be given more privileges since their forefathers had played a greater role in bearing the torch of the great Indian civilization. Jai Hind.